Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist for Cooperative Farmers Elevator. And on this week's Field Friday segment, I thought we'd talk about some of this late season stuff we're starting to see show up in our soybean fields. We've got things that are showing up this year that we've really never seen before. We've had some exceptional weather, of course. We've all talked about the rain that we've had and the excessive moisture. And we haven't really had, an excessive amount of heat, so really kind of cooler than average and damp late here in the late season. So I thought we'd touch on a few of the things that you probably see yellow spots in beans driving by on the road, especially as we get to the west side of the territory. We don't typically see some of these things. But one of the things that showed up that we really seen spread, it's come in late enough where it's probably not going to be a factor, but sudden death syndrome, SDS. It seems like we see that in fields. I've never seen it before. In areas of the country, I've never seen it before. But it's not bad. It's showing up, not really taking over fields yet, and it's come in late enough. Again, like I say, it's not going to really hurt us a lot probably. But it is something that we're definitely seeing. As you drive by on the road, there's more yellow spots and pockets in bean fields, and it's not all maturity of beans. I've got a picture here of what an SDS leaf looks like. It's got a similar look to it as brown stem rot, but it's a little bit different in the fact that you don't have pith that's going in the side of that stem, or inside the stem, that's brown all the way up like brown stem rot does. So that's a telltale separate those two. Another disease that we've seen show up, and this one's typically further south than here. I don't know that I've seen that up here either, but frogeye leaf spot, that's something that we've typically said that's too far south for us to worry about, but we have it this year. The weather conditions are obviously conducive to that, so we've got some around. Here's a picture of some leaves and some of that infection that you see from a frogeye leaf spot. We've got these lesions with a kind of a darker halo around a lighter spot, and that's kind of what it looks like. It's kind of unique. But that's something we really haven't seen up in this area either before. So that's something new. Again, coming in late enough, probably not going to be a big factor. And then of course there's some white mold around. We all thought with as damp as we were, white mold would be a bigger factor. You can find it, it's out there, but it's not as prevalent as it was a year ago. And that's just dead plants that look like they're just all of a sudden quit growing out in the middle of the patches of a field is the first thing you'll see there. And so on. So that's kind of the disease spectrum we've seen. There's a few other things out there, but the main thing we're seeing are those three. There is something else that's a little bit different we haven't seen before, and it was showing up earlier. We can still find it now in fields, but it's something called a Soybean gall midge larvae. It's just little tiny larvae, kind of like a maggot type worm that's chewing on some soybean stems at the ground level. We've seen some soybeans kind of snap off, at the ground with some wind or with some pressure from storms, and we usually don't see beans snap off at the ground. So as we start to investigate, that's kind of something new in the state of Iowa. There really isn't much experience or much knowledge of that, but that is something that we've come across this year as a pest, and you can still see it today. That's been going on for a while. Kind of new, not a lot we can do about that. At this stage either, and again we're late. So Sleighbeam aphids, we talked about those a few episodes ago. They're out there. They never did really get going to the point where it was a big problem, and that was good. We all talked about not wanting to spend any more money on this crop with bean prices being the way they are, but there were some aphids out there. A few fields got sprayed, but it never really got carried away in that. So most of these beans are at R6 in the area. Some are a little further, some are a little later, but that's kind of a ballpark idea. You do see some fields around the country starting to turn and get mature. So I think soybean harvest is going to be, around the corner here. But just thought we'd touch on some of those late season diseases that we have run across and some of these late season things that the soybeans are dealing with, and make you aware of what they look like and what they really are. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.